All right, so we're going through the heparin protocol. I blacked out 3 through 10 or 3 through 9 because those are just that's extra information that doesn't pertain to dosage calculations. What we care about is following the following steps and then answering the questions. So we're going to start with these two questions here, where it says calculate the number of milliliters to administer for the bolus, and then calculate the infusion rate in milliliters per hour for the heparin IV drip. So we look at the protocol, or most likely what we could refer to as the order. The order says to bolus the patient with heparin 80 units per kilogram body weight and to start a drip at 18 units per kilogram per hour. Okay. The 80 units per kilogram body weight and the 18 units per kilogram per hour is why we have to convert the patient's weight in pounds to kilograms. Then we have to convert that the units per kilogram to just units, and then we have to convert units to milliliters. And that's kind of like the flow that we're going for in the heparin protocol. When we look at the heparin, the standard weight-based heparin protocol, you'll see that step 10 repeats bolus with 80 units per kilogram, start at 18 units per kilogram per hour. I have students that have asked over the course of the reviews today, are those numbers always the same? And if we're following the standard weight-based heparin protocol, yes. Because like I said, if you do a Google search for standard weight-based heparin protocol, you're going to see this exact same thing written out exactly as it is. So that's the standard. That's how you start it. And then your available is also standardized. Your available is you have an IV of 25,000 units in 250 milliliters, half normal saline. And then you have a bolus available, which is 1,000 units per milliliter. So we're going to use those pieces of information to solve for our bolus, as well to solve for our infusion rate. So let's get started. So my first step is I want to take the patient's weight and convert it to kilograms. So hopefully I know you all know this. You just take the patient's weight, 220, divide by 2.2, and then we get a nice even 100 kilograms. Nice big number, nice, easy thing to work with. Okay. So I don't have to worry about rounding or anything like that. It's a nice even number. If you go back and look at the previous recording that I did for earlier today, you'll see that we did an example where there was rounding, but I also solved it without rounding, and you realized, and then you came to see that the answer was the same, whether you rounded the patient's weight or you waited to round at the end of all the calculations, it still came out to the same answer, which is usually the case because the number's so high. It's when the numbers are small that creates some nuance. All right. So the first thing it says is to calculate the number of milliliters to administer for the bolus. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the patient's weight, which is 100 kilograms, and I'm going to multiply it by the instruction, which was to bolus with 80 units per kilogram. I'm going to remove kilograms, and I'm going to be left with units. And if we're doing this in steps, I'll just go ahead and just show you in steps, and then I'll show you how to kind of do this more of a long form way, but you could just kind of keep going with your dimensional analysis if you want to, but I'm just going to stop here and do 100 times 80, which will give me 8,000 units. Now, if they just wanted units, we'd be done. But we don't want units. We want milliliters. So I need a way to convert units to milliliters. So I'm going to even write that. I'm just going to write, I need a way to convert units to milliliters. Okay. So this is where the heparin protocol proves to be helpful, because we can use the protocol to tell us what we have available. We have 25,000 units and 250 milliliters half normal saline, and then we have a bolus dose, 1,000 units per milliliter. So I'm going to use the bolus dose strength because that's what we're doing and calculating first is the bolus. Okay. So 1,000 units, 1 milliliter, 8,000 divided by 1,000 gives me an answer of 8 milliliters. So for a patient weighing 220 pounds, they would receive as a bolus dose 8 milliliters. Are there any questions on the setup for doing bolus dose? Okay. The shorthand is for whenever you're calculating a bolus for the standard weight-based heparin protocol, you're going to take the patient's weight times 80 and then divide by 1,000. So if you need a shorthand way to check an answer, that's what you're going to do. Okay. Now, let's say you're on the test and your instructor changes the variables. Well, you're responsible for those changed variables. So make sure you read and make sure that they are all the same. And then I would always say hedge on the side of being extra cautious and set it up like this, right out the steps, refer to the protocol. That way, you're not missing anything. All right, let's do the infusion rate. So the infusion rate says we're going to start a drip or an infusion at 18 units per kilogram per hour. Okay, so that's the information I'm going to use to start. Same patient weighs the same. So I'm going to take that 100 kilograms times the 18 units. And that's kilograms per hour. And then I'm going to get 18 times 100 is 1,800 units per hour because we got rid of kilograms. Now, we don't want units per hour. We want milliliters per hour. So I'm trying to get rid of units and convert it to milliliters. So just like we did in the bolus question, I need to go back and refer to the heparin protocol, refer to what I have available. We're not going to use the bolus dose because we're not calculating a bolus. We're calculating based off of what the patient is hooked up to via IV. And that is a 250 milliliter half normal saline solution that contains 25,000 units of heparin. So those are the numbers I'm going to use. $250 ml, 25,000 units. Now this number here is the same thing as 1/100. Okay. So, and that's just it reduced. If you don't like that I'm doing that, just ignore it. I'm just letting you know because when I show you the shorthand, that'll at least you'll understand why I say divide by 100. That's where that's coming from. Okay. So because I know that 1,800 divided by 100 is just going to be 18 again. So my answer would be 18 milliliters per hour. Any questions on setting up the IV or the infusion rate? Okay. So the shorthand. The shorthand for this would just be, if you're doing an infusion rate, you're calculating milliliters per hour. You're going to take the patient's weight in kilograms times 18 and then divide by 100. So I told you, like, where's that 100 coming from? Now, hopefully, not hopefully, you know. Now, you may be wondering, well, what about these other steps, 11 through 15? I didn't cross them out. I didn't black them out. Why are you keeping those there? Well, I gave you as practice, but I think you're only going to see a question like this. This question is going to be two parts, part A, part B. It's most likely to be calculate the bolus and calculate the infusion rate. It'll be worth one question, but you need to get both parts right to get the whole question right. But if you miss both parts, you write, 2 milliliters is the bolus, and you write 100 milliliters per hour as your infusion rate. You missed one question, even though you missed both answers. It's not a problem. Okay. But you'll practice this, you'll be fine, and it won't be a big deal. All right. So for this, where it says the APTT, and it gives you some scenarios. So if you look at part C, it tells you after 6 hours, then we have a new APTT. So basically, we've reevaluated the patient, and we want to know, are they still bleeding like they were? Are they starting to bleed less? Are they starting to bleed more? What are we seeing? So their APTT is 43 seconds. So we're going to go back up and look for the range that has 43 seconds, and that happens to be step 12 of the protocol. Okay, so if it was 30 seconds, you'd look at step 11. If it was 50 seconds, you'd look at step 13. You just look at whichever one has the range that you're looking for. So what does step 12 tell us? It tells us to rebolus with 40 units per kilogram, and then it says to increase the rate by 2 units per kilogram per hour. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to calculate the new bolus, and you're going to calculate the new infusion rate, if that is the type of question that you get asked. But like I said, I don't think that you will. If you can answer A and B, you should be money as far as your test is concerned, both this semester and fourth semester. But let's just try this since we have it up here. We have a patient that weighs 100 kilograms. So the first thing I'm going to do is do this again, but use the 40 units per kilogram. So I'm going to take my patient that weighs 100 kilograms times the 40 units this time, which will give me 4,000 units. Then I'm going to convert that from units to milliliters. And what am I going to use? I'm going to use that same bolus dose, because what are we calculating? Calculating a bolus. So I'm looking, it's the same available. So it's still the 1,000 units per milliliter. So that doesn't change. The only reason that would change is if for some reason someone changed the stuff in the protocol. So that shouldn't change. So your answer would be 4 milliliters. Okay. All right. Then it says calculate the new infusion rate in milliliters per hour. So what was our original infusion rate? Our original infusion rate was 18 units per kilogram per hour. If my APT is 43 seconds, it tells us to increase the rate by 2 units per kilogram per hour. So what is my new infusion rate? If my original was 18, and then it says to increase it by 2, now it's going to be what? 20 units per kilogram per hour. Anyone have a question on where I'm getting 20 from? So 100 kilograms times 20 units kilogram hour. This is going to give me a 2,000 units per hour. I don't want units per hour. I want milliliters per hour. So I want to convert units to milliliters. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the protocol to tell me what my available is. My available is 25,000 units, 250 milliliters, half normal saline. Fill in the blanks here, 25,000, 250. Remember, that's the same thing as 1 over 100. So my answer is 20 mil per hour. Because it was 18 before, right? Now, that just happened to work out that if you had guessed and you just increased it by 2, it would have worked out. The reason that works out is because the 100 and the 100 cancel each other out. And if you didn't understand anything I just said, just don't worry about it. I would just always make sure that you do the work and don't try to take any shortcuts with these things. So let me give you guys a heparin protocol scenario, the simplified view of it, and you guys give me your answers. So let me change. I'm just going to change the patient's weight here, and then you tell me what you get. So I'm going to do, let's just do 185 pounds. And then you can decide if you want to do, sorry. If you want to do it as you want to round at the beginning, and you get to decide that, because this might not be an even number, but just go ahead and get an answer. I'll just wait patiently and we'll see what you guys get. And to just type it into the chat. You can send it as a direct message when you get it. Take your time and let's see if you get the same thing I get. Good luck. All right, so some of the answers are starting to come in. If you didn't get an answer, just give me 1 second. I just want to confirm because I got the same thing. I believe everyone else did. If you didn't come up with a if you didn't come up with an answer, your first answer for the bolus, and I'll show you these two, would be 6.7. And then for the flow rate would be still check here. The flow rate would be 15.1. 15.1 mil per hour. Okay. So 6.7 milliliters would be the bolus, and 15.1 milliliters per hour would be the infusion rate. Now, when it comes to, so the 15.1, the real answer was 15.1363636 repeating. Remember, numbers greater than 1, round to the nearest 10th. Numbers less than 1, round to the nearest 100th. So you want to make sure when you're rounding that you round appropriately for these questions. Now, I did it without rounding my pounds to kilograms, but I also did it, I did it both ways. So I did it where you do round. So I got like, I think it was 94.1. Actually, someone gave me that information. Where 84.1 kilograms. That was the rounded answer because it was 84.090909 or something like that. So they you could round to 84.1, you're going to get the same answer. So it shouldn't matter when you round with pounds to kilograms, but if you want to be on the safe side, let me just show you what I would do with my calculator. And I showed this earlier, but that way you can like see how I'm plugging this into my calculator. So what I'm going to do in my calculator is we have a patient that weighs 185 pounds. I'm going to divide by 2.2. Okay. And I get that number. Then I'm going to multiply by the bolus, which is 80. And I'm going to get that number. Then I'm going to divide by 1,000. And you've written this all out. I'm just showing you what I'm putting into my calculator. And I'm going to get 6.72, and I'm going to round that to 6.7. Now, just to show you that it comes out the same, if I take that patient that's 185 pounds, divide by 2.2, and let's say I round there, and I say, okay, that's 84.1. So 84.1 times 80, divide by 1,000, and look at that. We get, so these numbers, the 2 and the 8 are different, but we get the same answer, 6.7. Okay. So I think it would be very unlikely that it's going to round up to like where it would round up to 6.7, and then round up again to 6.8. I don't think that would happen. But if you want to be absolutely 100% correct, take the patient's weight, divide by 2.2, and then continue with the rest of your calculations, and then save your rounding until the very, very end. Okay. All right. Any questions on the heparin protocol, or do you have other questions on any of the other practice questions? Go ahead. Lauren, I see your hand first. Go ahead.
Can we go over question 24?
Oh, sure. Yes. And go ahead, Christine. What's your question?
I wanted to continue that out because I only got as far as the 6.7, and then I'm lost on the flow rate.
Okay. Well, were you able to do the first time through?
Yeah, but somehow I don't, yeah, I'm lost. I don't know where I'm putting the 6.7 after to get to the 15.1.
Oh, so the 6.7 and the 15.1 are unrelated.
Okay, there you go. So it's completely different. All right, I'm stopping there, and then I'm starting a new problem.
Correct. Yeah. So for here, I'm starting again with the 100 kilograms, and now I'm multiplying by the 18 units per kilogram per hour. So I'm doing a completely different setup.
Okay, that makes, all right, perfect sense. I guess I just kind of forgot.
No, that's okay. That's why we do that. I'm glad you asked. All right, so a couple questions here, and I'm gonna get to 24, Lauren. So first of all, there is no as far as I know, I don't know what's on Blackboard, but you should have received a link for the OneDrive folder, and that's where everything is. I always put everything on the shared OneDrive folder, and then I chop it up into the different like the different campuses, so Allegheny Boys, South, North, and then by the semester, so 110, 130. So there should be a link on Blackboard to the shared folder, or it's in you can also email me if you don't have that link, and then I'll send you what I have. But it that link should be on Blackboard, but nothing is like of mine is posted on Blackboard that I'm aware of. Everything should be posted on the OneDrive folder. And then the other question was, is it always 18 for B? It's always going to be 18 for B for if it's the standard weight-based heparin protocol. But as I showed in, like, if there's a variation like we did here, where we have a new APTT and it tells us to increase the infusion rate, then that would be whatever it gets increased or decreased to. So if it was 18 as the original, and then it gets increased by 2, then it becomes 20. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. And if you didn't get any information from the school, like, yeah, just email me. You got it. Okay. 24. And then I can come back. Christine, keep working through this, and then just let me know, even just type in the chat that you got to the 15.1. And if you didn't, we'll come back to this, but let me do 24 real quick, because I skipped it last time. All right. I actually saw a better variation of this. I'm going to give it to you because I liked it a lot, because it was more in line with, I think, with what you would see. This is from the 240 review. So I'm going to give you a different question, because I think they did a really good job with this. Give me 1 second. I gotta find it. All right. Okay, so I think this is a better way of displaying this type of question, where basically all they're asking you to do is figure out what time it starts. Well, I mean, they'll tell you the time it starts, but when you're finishing it. So so let's look through this. So it says your shift is to start at 0700, which is 7 a.m. and then it ends at 1500, which is 3 p.m. You're making your rounds at 7:30 a.m. and you find an IV of dextrose 5% half normal saline, 1 liter bag, regulated on an electronic infusion pump at the ordered rate of 125 milliliters per hour, and there's 500 milliliters remaining. Okay. The order specifies a continuous infusion, and it says at what time should you anticipate hanging the next bag. Now that I've created a little bit of a different scenario, hopefully this is a little bit more straightforward, but let's answer it. All right. So I'm going to take trying to find my, there we go. Okay. All right. So before I worry about the time, I want to know how long is this going to be infusing for? Okay. So I'm going to take, I have 500 milliliters. That's what's remaining. And it's infusing at 125 milliliters per hour. So I'm going to show you this way, because what this allows me to do is to eliminate the time. But if you prefer just to take, usually what I do is I just take whatever's left divided by the rate, and that gives me my answer. But this would be 4 hours. Okay. And you're right, Lauren. That's correct. So all you're doing is, once you know the time, 4 hours, then you just take the start time, 0730, add the 4 hours, which in military time would be 400. And then you're going to get 1130, which is the same thing as 11:30 a.m. But you would just, because it asks for military time, you would ask for 11:30. The other one I think is very similar. It would just be more like but it was 20 hours. So you're just going to do the same thing. What time did it start? 8:30. 20 hours later, what time is that? But go ahead, Lauren.
I still don't get the one that's actually on our paper. Like for this one, I can just do this in my head. But the other one, I don't know. Like I feel like it doesn't give enough information or something. Like it just seems like it's missing something. Like I can't figure it out.
All right, so let me see if I can. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the only thing, so you're going to do the same thing, right? Because it tells you when it starts, Monday at 8 a.m. And then they're asking you when does it finish. It doesn't say military or non-military time, but because it's written in regular time, you can. So we look at, what do we have? We have half normal saline, 1,000 milliliters, and it's infusing at 50 milliliters per hour. So how long will that take to finish?
Four a.m. the next day.
Yep. So 20 hours is what it's going to take. And then you got it. Yeah. So it'd be 4 a.m. on what day?
On Tuesday. But
got
to Lauren, what I did that was helpful for me, I just did 1,000 divided by 50. And then I got 20. And then I just I mean that's 20 hours. So 20 hours from 8 a.m. that would be 4 a.m. in the morning on Tuesday, if that's a little helpful.
What do you think, Lauren? Was that helpful? Okay, good. Yeah. And I would even add, what I've done previously is I would say, okay, let's say it started at 8 a.m. Okay. What's 24 hours from Monday at 8 a.m.? It's going to be Tuesday at 8 a.m. And then just take 4 hours away from that, since it was 20 hours. Now, is this realistic scenario? No, I think the scenario I gave you, which is why I wanted to put what I had there, I thought that was a better scenario anyways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put it in here just so you can see. I'll keep this on here. I think this is a better scenario that was created by the head of the nursing department, the doing the shift and doing all that stuff. And then it was a smaller time frame, which seems a little bit more realistic. This is what happens when you have somebody like me making up just a question off the fly. It just becomes more challenging. Probably would be better is if I said this was infusing at 250 milliliters. And if it started at, 10 a.m. on Monday, what day and time will it finish? And now we have a little bit more. So go ahead and do, try this one. So we have 1,000 milliliters. So we have a liter IV. I'm actually even going to change it to 1 liter just to add a little extra fun to this. So you have a 1 liter IV. It's infusing at 250 milliliters per hour. It starts at 10 a.m. on Monday. What day and time will it finish? And then just type your answer into the chat. Good. You got it. Yeah, I just think that I did not intentionally make this question or harder than it needed to be, but it accidentally got made harder into what it needed to be, because I know you can do this. That's why. Yeah. So good. Yeah. So a lot of you are getting it. Like, it would take 4 hours to infuse. If it started 10 a.m. Monday, it would end at 2 p.m. on Monday. And then if you were doing military time, it would be going from, 1,000 hours to 1,400 hours. And I think you guys have been probably berated with military time that you should have that down. So
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I don't have the hand on my screen for some reason. I'm unable to raise my hand.
you're good. Go ahead.
So, this question, like, I don't understand it. I know the last question was 1,000 mLs, and then it was 50 or something like that, and then that's how I got 20. But how did you get? Because when I did 1 liter divided by 250 milliliters, I just got 0.004.
So
So is there a certain way that problem should be set up to get 4 hours?
So you cannot do math with different units. So you need to change either the liters to milliliters or the milliliters to liters first.
Can you work that problem out?
Sure. So what is 1 liter? How many milliliters is that?
How was that?
1,000.
Yeah. So I'm just going to take 1,000 divided by the 250. And that'll give me 4 hours.
Okay, so did you do that shorthand?
When I initially did it,
Yeah, because like, I would have to convert liters to milliliters first and then do it, right?
correct. Yeah. So I just I know that 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. So I just converted that before I did anything else. I actually didn't say anything. I just asked you guys to solve it and see what you came up with. And then that's why you got the answer you got, because you didn't convert liters to milliliters first. So you got to do that first.
Okay.
Yeah. And then anytime you see units that are different. So like, let's say you have an order of, 45 milligrams of a medication, and then it's available in micrograms, then you need to convert milligrams to micrograms or micrograms to milligrams before you can solve for the problem. So always pay attention to your units. All right, so we still have another 10 minutes or so. Do you guys have any other questions? Any of the other question types you wanted to look at? Questions about rounding, questions otherwise?
I do. I have a question about rounding.
Okay.
I know earlier I had asked you about the whole kilogram to pound, but I just had one more question regarding that, because I know you said we're supposed to round to the nearest 10th, but like, in the event that, let's say the answer is 55.98, would you just leave it as 55.9?
No, if you get 55.98, you're gonna round up. And so that 8 rounds the 9 up to the next number. So that would get rounded to the nearest whole number at that point. So it would be 55.98 would become 56.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll have to tell you, like with the numbers and the conversions that you're doing, you won't get that number. Like,
Okay.
you're not going to get that number with like when you're dividing by 2.2, when you're multiplying by or dividing by 30, you're not going to get that number most likely. But if you do, now you know. Like if I always tell students, if you get 3.99999, the answer is 4. So if you get 4.982, then it's 5.
Okay.
It's a good question. Oh, hold on a second. It's a long one. Okay. Oh, and I will tell you, like, so I just won't say who's saying this, but if your Blackboard is empty or missing things, if you have, and I don't know if this is the case, but if you have a Apple device, sometimes you have to refresh the Apple device to get the content to load on to Blackboard if you're running into that issue. But I did get your message and I will email you after we're done here. All right. Any other questions for the practice set here, or any other questions in general?
I have a general question.
Good.
Okay, so I'm in that med dosage course that's running this week. And is that one apply across the board, or is that for one, like, is that for this level, 220, 230?
Are you talking about my NSG 104?
Yes.
That is specifically for 110 or entering students.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
It's going to be
But it's
very,
okay.
very, you're going to be bored in that, but
It's okay. It's still
it's a
practice.
good review. Yeah. So it's okay. I was like, I thought I saw your name in there and I was like, wait a second. She doesn't need this.
Hey, it's okay. I like math.
Okay.
So the more I do it, the better I get, but I'll have to do a lot more of these heparin ones.
Yeah. So yeah, that one, at least the way it was explained to me when they asked me to do it, is it's supposed to be a prep course. So before, I'm just gonna, since you asked about it, let me just, because I don't need to record. All right. Well, continue to review these questions. If something else comes up, feel free to email me. And then I will be meeting with the 220, 230 again on Thursday. I only have the 1:15 to 2:15 time. I will not have the 5 to 6 time. I will not be available. And then, as I said, I am recording these sessions. They will be uploaded onto YouTube, most likely tomorrow, unless nobody shows up for the 2:40 session. And then in which case I'll spend that time and upload these things. But I wish you the best of luck if I don't see you on Thursday, and I'll and have a good semester.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Dr. Red, I just have one quick question.
Go ahead.